Good afternoon and welcome. You're tuned into TMH Daily English News. As we move on to our updates, the headlines today: the American computer scientist Timnit Gebru deplores global science over this ongoing Tigray genocide. President of Tigray, Debretsion Gebru confers with AU Special Envoy on ways of achieving peace in Ethiopia. And Tigray, largest hospital, has currently stopped all services except emergency amid this ongoing crisis. Our main updates for today: American computer scientist Timnit Gebru has deplored the science of the world over the genocide that's currently taking place in Tigray. Timnit Gebru, who's the founder and executive director of the Distributed Artificial Intelligence Research Institute and one of the most prominent researchers working in the field of ethics in the artificial intelligence, delivered the keynote address to the UC Berkeley School of Information's graduating class of May 16th. She said despite the fact that human beings, wherever they are intimately interconnected, it pains her to see that some people in the world are seen as less worthy than others. Let's take a listen.
I was born and raised in Ethiopia. I'm of Eritrean descent. And there's currently a genocide in Ethiopia. There is a civil war accompanied by a genocide. It's an estimated 500,000 people have perished in the last 18 months in the northern state of Tigray. 7 million people are under siege. No food, no medicine, no internet. This whole entire time. Tens of thousands of Eritrean refugees are unaccounted for. The Washington Post writes, the world's deadliest war isn't in Ukraine, but in Ethiopia. So David Volodsko writes in The Nation, if we compare the situation in Tigray to other ongoing armed conflicts, the numbers are startling. Looking at civilian deaths, for example, the war in Ukraine has resulted in less than 3,000 Ukrainian deaths, according to the UN Human Rights Office, while Tigray has seen upwards of 500,000, as per estimates by Ghent University. However, how many of you have seen it in the news? Show of hands. Like 3. How many of you have seen people changing their profile pictures to stand in solidarity with Tigrayans? Let's not forget that we are all so intimately connected. What happens over there will come to our door one way or another.
In her speech, Gebru also touches on the collective action, interconnectedness, and the loneliness that may accompany standing on the right side of history. She says, you are in the place that has outsized influence in the world. Timnit Gebru told all of the young graduates. She also urged people, wherever they are, to starve harm, adding that such actions can have consequences that reverberate in so many other places. Tigray President Debretsion Gebru confers with the AU Special Envoy on ways of achieving peace within Ethiopia. In a statement, member of Tigray Armed Forces Central Command, Getachew Reda, said Debretsion on Tuesday received an AU Special Envoy Obasanjo in the Tigray capital of Mekelle and discussed regional matters. The visit by Obasanjo to Mekelle comes days after reports that our warring parties in Ethiopia were in secret talks on possible consensus to finalize and end this ongoing conflict. The top UN diplomat has pledged support for efforts to bring about peace within the entirety of Ethiopia. The United Nations Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Hannah Sarwa Tetet, today met with the Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, Demeqa Mokonnen. The two leaders discussed the war and how to bring about lasting peace in Ethiopia. And the ambassador, Sarwa, pledged to diligently work to ensure peace and stability will be sure to be available in the Horn of Africa. The largest referral hospital in Ethiopia's Tigray region has suspended its regular operations due to the lack of medicine and ongoing power outages. Medical Director of Eider Referral Hospital, Dr. Kebrom Gebreselassie, told the BBC that the hospital has reached a point where it could not provide any services after 18 months of ongoing conflict and war in their northern region. He says the lack of medicine and medical supplies, as well as the lack of fuel, caused this suspension. Now there is no electricity in Tigray, and we have stopped producing oxygen as well, he added. Doctors in the hospital had been working without pay for more than a year and could not support themselves or their families. Muse Tesfaye, who's chief administrator and business development director at Eider Hospital, also spoke on this matter in a press release with Tigray TV. Let's take a listen.
The biggest referral hospital in Tigray region, Eider Comprehensive Specialized Hospital, has closed its patient services except emergency patient care because of lack of fuel. Since the start of the siege, I'm repeatedly mentioning this is the biggest referral hospital in Tigray region, but without any budgetary support, without any incoming medications and medical supplies, we have been doing our best to serve our patients.
Since Tigray forces took control of the region last June, it has been under a de facto blockade, according to the UN, with many people in need of medical treatment and dying due to lack of medicine as well. Medical professionals had told the BBC in April that the hospital had reached a point where it was discharging 4 to 6 bodies daily, up from between 1 to 2 bodies every 2 to 3 days prior. Among those at risk of death due to lack of medicines and proper medical services were medical professionals at the hospital, according to sources from the same hospital. U.S. has tapped affable veteran diplomat for Ethiopia peace bid. The United States on Wednesday named Mike Hammer, who's a veteran diplomat known for his frankness and amiability, as an envoy for the Horn of Africa, with the delicate task of building on Ethiopia's fragile efforts towards ongoing peace. Hammer was most recently the U.S. ambassador to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where he drew respect and sometimes ire with his outspokenness about the country's ills. I look forward to the energy and the vision that Ambassador Hammer will now lend to our efforts in the Horn of Africa, said Secretary of State Antony Blinken in a released statement. Blinken stated Hammer's appointment underscores his government's abiding commitment to diplomatic efforts in the region, but most urgently in support of inclusive political process towards peace, common security, and prosperity for all of the people within Ethiopia. Hammer will replace David Satterfield, a senior diplomat and former ambassador to Turkey, who's becoming director of Rice University's Baker Institute for Public Policy. Satterfield took over in early January after the previous envoy, Jeffrey Feltman, quit amid frustration over his efforts in Ethiopia and Sudan, where the military completely derailed a transition into democracy. The multilingual Hammer also served an ambassador to Chile in senior positions dealing with the media in Washington as well. Our final update for today, Ethiopia's Renaissance Dam general manager says no water will reach Egypt and Sudan in times of drought. In a TV interview with Al Arabia Monday, general manager of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Kafla Horok, confirmed the fears of Egypt and Sudan about the absence of a legally binding agreement that regulates the filling of the reservoir in times of drought and severe drought. He said that during heavy rains, water would overflow in the direction of 2 downstream countries. As for drought durations, the water flowing into the reservoir will remain in the dam. That is the regular way of filling in such projects, said the general manager in a release statement. The Ethiopian official added that the second turbine would be installed in weeks and that the total capacity of the dam would reach about 5,150 megawatts when all 13 turbines are finally put in place. The dam is estimated to generate only 3,000 megawatts, as the number of turbines to be installed has been reduced to 13 turbines from the original 16. And again, according to Egypt Today, satellite images show in April that the amount of water in the reservoir had dropped from 8 billion cubic meters to 7 billion cubic meters over the past few weeks, as 30 million cubic meters had been released daily to operate this ongoing turbine. On January 13th, Ethiopia declared it would be removing 17,000 hectares of forest in February, which would take 60 days to make possible conducting the third filling of this Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.